Hey church, welcome to Testimony Tuesday. If you're joining us from Inverloch or Wonthaggi or Granville or anywhere in the Basque Coast or Victoria, Australia, hey, huge welcome to you. My name is Brendan and this is Hilary, and Testimony Tuesday is just something we're doing as a church to stay connected and to be able to just hear more stories from what God has been doing in people's lives. So Hilary, you've been in Inverloch a while now. Is that how long has that been?
6 years.
6 years. Wow, that's gone quicker. And do you enjoy the beautiful Basque Coast?
Of course, it's lovely.
Very good.
Yes.
Hey, just to kick us off, Hilary, and we've had some great testimonies. We had Les, and last Tuesday we got to hear from Jesse and some of the stuff that our teenagers have been up to. So it's just been fantastic. So stay tuned. It's just a way that we can stay connected. But Hilary, tell us a bit about how, I guess, you first had an encounter of God, how you first began to understand that there's a loving God who cares about you.
I was privileged to have a Christian home with parents who lived their faith, who took us to church, who prayed for us. And so I was never at a stage where I wasn't aware that there was something more, that there was a God who cared and loved us.
That's awesome. And so I probably, for those listening at home, I do need to tell you that we are trying to keep our 2 metres apart. Our cameraman pressed record and he has now left the building. And so it's just Hilary and I here and the camera and you at home. I just thought it'd be important to clarify that. So Hilary, sorry, back to, so if you had to pick a time when you gave your life to Jesus, and if you had to pick something that's helped you to grow in your faith, I mean, what would the answer to those questions be? Yeah.
When I was a teenager, I realised I had to make that decision for myself, and I asked Jesus to save me, and he did. As for growing my faith, I think in the journey you sometimes have times when you're closer and not as close. But at all times I was always aware that God was there. And the things that I was very conscious of were prayer and the way he guided my life. I would always pray. There were a lot of issues that I needed help with, and he was always there. And he always answered. He's an amazing God, an amazing Father. That's
good. Now, Hilary, you've got a bit of a story there of, I guess, a time where you saw God really move powerfully in your life. We would love to hear that.
Yes. More than 10 years ago, I became aware that God was wanting me to come closer to him. At that time, I was in a job that I really enjoyed, but the environment became very toxic. There was a lot of bullying going on, and it became a terribly hard place to work. So I was crying out to God about this, and one morning he gave me a very direct answer: give the job away. So I asked for confirmation because it was a big thing to do, and he gave me that confirmation a couple of days later. Because I knew I needed to do it immediately, I resigned at the next opportunity and left with no work to go to and nothing to do. I became aware I had this feeling that he wanted me to spend this time learning more about him. And so I prayed and read and was given an amazing encounter with God through a filling of the Holy Spirit. Now Jesse spoke about in his testimony about being surprised that the Holy Spirit would come to a small alpha camp, not a big convention. But I can have to tell you that he came to me in my home while I was alone one Friday morning. There are no requirements for God. If he wants to do something, he can do it wherever and whenever he chooses. I'm forever grateful for the person that God provided for me on this journey, who supported me and gave love and reassurance in a situation where I'd never experienced anything like this before. Of course, everything changed in my life after that. God became so important, so real, and so exciting. I saw him working almost immediately. Well, he was working all the time, but I saw the next step. I'd been applying for jobs and not getting anywhere. I had good experience and would have good references, but nothing was happening. But as I trusted God, He stepped in and provided for me in a way I could never have imagined. I had a perfect job, given a perfect job with a previous employer. But the special thing was that the conditions were such that I called the shots about when I would be there and which sites I would work on. And that was very amazing, something that could never happen. It had to be His provision, His circumstances. I had a great time working there for nearly 12 months. And when it became necessary for me to move on from their point of view, I was right ready to go too. A lot has happened in the journey since. Our move to Inverloch was something I would never have envisaged, but God made it very plain and went before us, provided amazingly for us. We have been so blessed in so many ways. Being part of the church here is a part of that blessing, as we've seen it grow from when we first came, as God has used Brendan's passion and commitment to Jesus and his care and love for his flock. There have been sad and difficult times since we moved down too in that process, but I've learned so much about his power and his passionate love for me, as he's showing me he wants each one of us to be moving closer to him.
Wow, Hilary, thank you for sharing at that time when God clearly moved and God drew you closer to him. I just love it. And Hilary, as you're aware, it's a crazy new world that we're living in. Who would have thought that 2 weeks ago I would be speaking to a camera? And who would have thought that we'd be connecting over the internet because of the coronavirus? But I guess, Hilary, in this new world that we find ourselves, what is God teaching you? What has God been reminding you over this time?
He's reminding me that I believe he wants each one of us to use this time while we're apart to be closer to him.
That's good.
I know you may be trying to amuse an active family, but ask God to give you some time that you can spend reaching out to him. And you'll be amazed at what he'll do, because he wants to reach out to you. We don't need to be frightened or afraid in this time. I want to quote from Brendan's message from the end of last year sometime. God is in control. He has a plan and he can be trusted. And he will bring good out of even this situation. Believe him. Have faith and not fear. He promises to be with us in everything, over and over again in his word. 2 verses I've got here is a selection from many, many others that are there. Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them or coronavirus.
Good.
For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And in Hebrews 13:5, God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Thanks so much for listening.
Hey church, it's been great once again to connect on Testimony Tuesday. Thank you, Hilary, for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. If you want to be a part of Testimony Tuesday, we're hoping to get one to you every Tuesday. If you want to be a part of it, just drop me an email and I'll try and make it happen. But it's been great. Hey church, stay safe. And hey, phone someone this week. Phone a friend and just say, hey, how you doing? But it's bye from me from Wonthaggi Baptist, and thank you to Hilary. Bye for now. See you, church.